Hi everyone, this is Professor Vanbenthuysen. It's a really long last name, so most people just call me Professor V. So because this is an online course, we don't actually meet. I did want to do a video kind of walking you through how the course is set up and how my particular course will go this semester. And this is for the online A&P2 lecture. If you are in my online A&P2 lab, it will be set up slightly differently. So I do have it set up as modules. I don't do weekly modules because I find that overwhelming. I have them set up by exams. The first module, however, is important information, and it's going to include your course syllabus, your course schedule, and the link to the Pearson e-text. So let's start with the course syllabus. Again, this is an online A&P2 class. We have no meetings. There's our reference number. This course is set up a little bit differently because we have an unusual start date, which is Tuesday, January 7th, but this course will be published prior to the start date, just in case you want to begin ahead of time. You will have access to everything. I'm not going to read everything on the syllabus just because you can read that. Just giving you a little bit of a description of what we go through and all the systems for A&P2. Here's our required book and materials you need to purchase. This textbook with mastering and e-text. You can purchase the access code in the HTC bookstore, but because this is an online course, I'm guessing some of you may not be able to get to the bookstore, so you can purchase it directly from Pearson itself, and I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. So evaluative criteria is your standard grading scale. So 90 to 100% is an A, so on and so forth. What I don't have on here are like an 89.5 and 89.2. That's not included in this grading category. So that's what I call a gray area. So if at the end of this semester, if you have like an 89.3 or an 89.7, if you're in that gray area, you can reach out to me and we can see if there's anything that we can do. I can't offer you additional points that weren't offered to all students, but maybe I can reopen an assignment and allow you to attain more points on it, so on and so forth. So we'll figure something out. The grading categories for this course are broken down into 3 different components. The first one's going to be your lecture exams, which is worth 75% of your course grade. You do have 5 unit exams. Each unit exam is worth 100 points. You also have a cumulative final, so 6 total exams. So out of the 6 exams, your lowest exam grade will be dropped. I will implement the exam drop grade at the end of the semester. So after you've taken all 5 unit exams, if you have an A in the course, you do not need to take the cumulative final. So the cumulative final grade would just go in as a 0, and then when I implement the exam grade drop, your 0 for the cumulative final would be dropped, and it would not affect your grade. I won't do that until the end of the semester because there has been confusion in the past. If I start it now, people get a misconception of what their actual grade is. And I'll talk a little bit more about the cumulative final in a little bit. The 20% of your grading category is going to be represented by assignments. So this is going to include chapter assignments that are done via Pearson and mastering, a couple of discussion boards, and a couple of worksheets. And depending on the assignment is going to determine what kind of point value it has. And there's also a project that's worth 5% of your grade, which I'll explain more in a little bit. So it says attendance is mandatory here. That we don't meet face-to-face, so what constitutes attendance is really just completing your assignments and logging into Canvas, because we do get a record of when and how long you are logged into Canvas. I'll show you in a little bit, but everything is published for this entire course now. All the materials for every lecture, exam, assignments, and even exams are published now. So I don't accept any missed work or late work, kind of. So you don't need to reach out to me or email me. What's going to happen is that I have Canvas set up and Pearson set up to automatically default to a 15% grade penalty per day late. So you don't need to reach out to me. You just go in and complete it, even if it's a day late or 2 days late or even 3 days late, and then your grade penalty be reflected in the Canvas grade book. So like I mentioned, there are 5 lecture exams in a cumulative final. You have 75 minutes to complete each exam. They can vary in format from multiple choice, which it is predominantly, a little bit of matching maybe, a little bit of true or false maybe, and there's always some sort of short answer question. Additionally, there's always a bonus question on there, normally in the form of short answer. So anywhere from maybe 4 to 8 exam bonus points you'll see at the end of each lecture exam. These lecture exams will be proctored using Honor Lock. They are closed notes. You cannot cheat. There's a huge big thing that I'm going to walk you through in a little bit. If you are suspected of cheating, or I have a recording of you cheating from the Honor Lock system, you will receive a 0 on your exam. And like I mentioned, your lowest exam grade will be dropped. So here's the due dates for your 5 lecture exams and your cumulative final. I only put the due date on there because, like I mentioned, this is going to be kind of a self-paced course. That is the last day that you can take these exams. It's going to close at 11:59 p.m. that day, whether you finished it or not. So if you really want to get this course over with, you are welcome to work ahead, and you can finish everything within, the next month or 2. It's totally up to you. But they just have to be taken by the due date. Okay, so don't cheat, and I'll walk you through the Honor Lock agreement in a second, because if you cheat, you get a 0, and just don't do that. So if you've never used Honor Lock before, there's a little blurb here that you can go in and read. Yes, you have to have a working camera with a computer and a microphone. You have to do a 360-degree scan of your entire room. If you miss something, you'll lose a little bit of points, and I'll show you in a little bit. Nobody else can be in your room, so on and so forth. Okay, that's really it for the syllabus. And let me go to the course schedule and due dates. So this is our course schedule. So for your first lecture exam, you only have 2 chapters on this lecture exam, chapter 17 and chapter 21. These are the assignments that are going to be due on Wednesday, January 22nd. So everything's due then. And your exam 1 is going to close on Sunday, January 26th at 11:59 p.m. We do go out of order in this class because this is how the flow of the class fits best with the material, so kind of be aware of that. Lecture exam 2 does have more material on it, so there is going to be chapter 18, 19, and 22 on that one. And you can go down here and we can see our project and everything else. So all your due dates are always going to be on a Wednesday. And your exams are going to close on a Sunday. But again, you can go in and complete these way ahead of time, which is what I recommend doing. Okay, so here's a little bit about the project. You are going to be doing a project that's worth 5% of your grade. It's not meant to be stressful at all. It's meant to be kind of fun and interesting to do. So you can pick any disease, condition, or disorder that we have studied or are going to study, and it says A&P1, and I need to change it to A&P2. So in A&P2. So for example, we cover the cardiovascular system, the endocrine system, reproductive system, urinary system. So anything that's related to that. What wouldn't be a good idea to do something on is, say, skin cancer, because you cover the integumentary system in A&P1. So you want to make it relevant to something or a system that we're covering in A&P2, which you can go in and look and see what we're covering. It's not that difficult. There's not super strict. You have flexibility here. So at minimum, you need 10 slides, but if you wanted 16, that's totally fine. You need to present and record your presentation, your PowerPoint presentation. Your recorded presentation should be anywhere from 8 to 12 minutes long. Again, your choice. And I'll show you where you upload that. So you're going to upload your presentation to the discussion board, which I'll show you in a second. Another requirement for the project is that you view at least 2 other students' presentations and make 2 thoughtful comments that indicate that you actually watched and viewed their presentation. So that's a little bit about the overview. Here's the instructions that are listed here. what your presentation has to include is listed there. It doesn't mean that you have to have disease name on slide 1, introduction. You can put it in whatever format you want and whatever order you want. It's totally up to you. Here's just an example of a layout if you want to make sure that you cover everything that's required. But again, you have flexibility. You can do what you want. Be a little bit creative. Don't make boring slides. Try to incorporate some pictures or diagrams or something like that. Because if you go to the rubric for the project, this is what I'm going to be looking at when I'm viewing your project. So it kind of tells you where you will accumulate your points for this. And then once you're done, you will upload it to the recorded presentation discussion board. You have to have your presentation uploaded by April 16th. And then it will close for uploads, and then you'll have 4 days past that to go in and view 2 other student presentations and make your comments. For the recorded presentation, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can do a screen recording like I am doing now. If you want, a lot of students like to put their face in it as well. I have no idea how to do that. But if you do, you can go ahead and put that in there. However you want to do it. One of the requirements is, though, that you have to make a PowerPoint or some sort of slide presentation and have at least a voiceover for that as you walk through that. Okay, so that was the syllabus, schedule, and the project, and then I can show you how everything else is set up. So like I mentioned, I have my module set up by lecture exams, not weekly modules. So if we click on lecture exam 1, this is kind of the format. So exam 1 has a to-do list to make sure you get everything done that you need to. So basically, this is walking you through everything that you need to complete in this lecture exam module. Read this course syllabus, read the schedule, take a look at the project, things like that, sign the honor lock acknowledgement and everything else, and when the exam closes and when your assignments are due. So make sure you take a look at the to-do list for each lecture exam. Below that, the header is the PowerPoints and lectures. So each one of the ones with the paperclip with the PowerPoint and the chapter name, if you click on that, you'll see the PowerPoint. Don't get overwhelmed by the number of PowerPoint slides. So this one says 122. Pearson itself comes with stock PowerPoints, and for each chapter, there's roughly 400 slides in each chapter for their PowerPoints. So what I've done is I've made my own slides, and I basically put the most important information on these 122 slides. So make sure you know everything in my slides. If it's not in my slides, 99.9% of the time, it's not going to be tested on a lecture exam. This is the most important stuff. Also below each one of the PowerPoints is a recorded lecture playlist that I made. It's broken up by section. So like the playlist has like section 17.1, so you don't have to watch the entire lecture for that chapter in one sitting. You can go in and do that. So 17 and 21 PowerPoints and playlists are there. The next header says assignments. This is everything that's going to be due. Again, all the assignments are going to be due on the scheduled due date that I showed you earlier, which is a Wednesday, and they have to be done by 11:59 p.m. So the first one that you have to do is introduction to class. This is going to go in, and you're going to put a little bit about yourself. And I ask that you include or embed a photo of yourself because this is an online class, just to kind of make it more personable. You can comment on other people's introductions. Maybe you're from the same city. I don't know, something like that. So my introduction and background is I have a Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Sciences, and then I have 2 masters from the University of Florida. I have one in microbiology with a concentration in cell science and biochemistry, and I have another one in pharmaceutical chemistry. So I teach both sciences, biology and chemistry, and micro, and even anatomy and physiology. So I really, really love science. I did a little bit of research at Tampa General Hospital and James A. Haley Veterans Hospital, and now I'm here and an instructor for your course. So the honor lock acknowledgement is the one that I really want to point out. So this is kind of what I expect when you take any one of your lecture exams or the cumulative final via honor lock, okay? Because there's been so much cheating in the past, and to avoid giving a flat out 0, this is kind of how you will lose points. So you need to make sure you don't have your phone visible. You'll lose 20 points if you're flagged for a secondary advice. You have to do a 360 scan of your workplace wherever you're taking the exam all the way around. Don't just like flash one wall that's blank and then consider that done, or else you'll lose some points. Your face has to be within view or you'll lose points. You shouldn't have any TVs, radios, other people in the room. You'd be surprised what I've seen people talking to other people. It's all recorded too, so it's very obvious when someone's cheating, so just don't cheat. I'm assuming you're going into some sort of healthcare field, so you need to know this information anyways. Okay, so once you read all this, you just type your name, and that's the honor lock acknowledgement. Those are the expectations for every time you take an proctored exam. So if you've never tested with honor lock before, I do have the syllabus quiz set up via honor lock just so you can kind of practice. What I'll do, there's no time limit or anything on it, but what I'll do is after you do this, if you're flagged for anything, I'll send you an email and let you know, hey, you were flagged for secondary advice. Make sure next time you put your phone away, something like that. Hey, you were flagged because your face wasn't in view. Make sure you're always looking at your camera or your computer and things like that. So that's a practice. You're not deducted any points on the syllabus quiz, but just to kind of familiarize yourself with it. Everything else is going to be your assignment. So in order to sync this course to Pearson, since we're using Pearson for the assignments in their platform, the easiest way to do this is by clicking on the first Pearson assignment, which is Introduction to Mastering. So mine is already synced, so you're not going to see what I see. Here it'll take you to open up Pearson. If you've had a Pearson account before, which is free, it'll automatically sync you, or you can enter in your information. If you've never had a Pearson account, then you can create one. And again, it's free. But you have to make sure you click on the link that's within this course in order to get what you accomplish on Pearson synced to the grade book and Canvas. I have no way to access it unless you go via this route. So if you've purchased an access code from the bookstore, you'll be prompted to enter the access code through this assignment. Or if you haven't purchased the access code, you can purchase one at this time. Just say, I don't have one, I need to purchase one. Okay, other things that are on here, so there's all your assignments, are the exam guide, exam 1 question. So exam guide is here. Every exam has an exam guide, which I write myself, and there's a reason, kind of gives you an idea. Make sure you read through this. I recommend that you never fill out a study guide, because then you only put down the information that you wrote down. You're only studying that and you miss so much other stuff. So my recommendation to you is to take the study guide after you've studied and see what you can recall from memory. So if you get to something and you're like plasma proteins and know their functions and know what they are, and you can't remember anything, that means that you need to go back and study that. So that's kind of, they're pretty detailed, and there's a good reason for that. So kind of make sure you're aware of that. That's available for you. And there's also a discussion board right here, exam 1 questions. There's one for each exam where you can post any questions that you have. So if you see another student's question, you can go in and answer it. I'll try to check it periodically as well. Also, if you find any resources, say you found a really good YouTube video that helps explain something, you could post it here as well. And then you have your exam. So it's going to close January 26th. So like I said, if you have nothing to do the next week and a half and you want to go ahead and complete lecture exam 1 material and take the exam, you can. And then you can move on to lecture exam 2. So this is more of a self-paced course with some due dates, final due dates that you have to make sure you're completed by. But everything's published now. So like I said, you can go in and look at it. So what I didn't have for lecture exam 1 was this other little section here that's in lecture exam 2, which is supplemental material. So you have your lecture PowerPoints and the playlists that correspond to each PowerPoint, but some of the physiological concepts that we cover are a little confusing, or we go pretty in depth in. So there are supplemental videos that I've made that really just cover that specific area that students tend to struggle with. So for example, the cardiac cycle. Also 22.1 and 22.3, just a brief overview to kind of tie things together. There's video links there. But on these videos, a lot of times I'm handwriting stuff as I'm explaining, and I don't want you to waste time going in and writing all this stuff down. So you'll see below it the cardiac cycle overview with the paperclip, meaning that's the PDF of whatever I was writing while I was talking on that video. So don't waste time writing anything down unless you want to, because there's a copy of whatever I wrote down. They're supplemental, they're just there. If something's confusing, you have those resources. And again, your exam 2 guide, questions, and exam 2. So hopefully all of this makes sense. Your cumulative final guide. I will say the cumulative final that I mentioned previously, this guide, definitely look at, because let me pull it up for you. This guide has 50 different components, or 50 things that I would like for you to know for the cumulative final. Each one of these little blurbs next to each number represents what that question on the cumulative final is, just because we'll cover so much material. I don't want you to not know what to study for the cumulative final. So if you know what tidal volume is, then you'll be set for question 19, things like that. So the cumulative final, don't stress about it. I give you a guide that basically tells you what's on it and everything that you need to know. So hopefully you found this video helpful, and let me know if you have any questions throughout the course. Like I said, everything is open and available to you now. You could complete this entire course within a month if you felt like it. Just make sure you complete things by the due dates, or you will get that 15% grade penalty, including lecture exams.